Hello, we are Eric Sponberg and Arliss Ryan, and from 2017 to 2023, we sailed around the world on our 35-foot sloop, Corroboree. Arliss is a writer, I am a naval architect, and I designed Corroboree in 1984-85 for an American couple moving to Australia. They had her built in New Zealand of a special wood called kauri and western red cedar, and she has a carbon fiber freestanding mast and a 27 horsepower diesel engine. Then they shipped her to the USA, where she sailed the Great Lakes for 27 years. Corroboree is an Aboriginal Australian word for celebration.
This was not our first ocean voyage. In 1977-78, we sailed a 27-foot sailboat from England to California. Then we came ashore and had careers and kids for almost 40 years. When Eric retired in 2015, we bought Corroboree back from her original owner with the goal of completing our youthful adventure and sailing all the way around the world. During the voyage, I wrote a blog called The Old Woman and the Sea, and you can find it on my website at arlissryan.com.
Now we've created this video just for the fun of it, so that you can join us in the cockpit for a taste of the wind and waves, the sunshine and storms, the highs and lows of a circumnavigation in a modest sailboat across some very big seas. The scenes are not in chronological order, and we've added subtitles because the wind sometimes interfered with the sound. So hop aboard and we'll get underway with a couple of pre-dawn starts in the dark and in the rain.
Hi, this is Arliss. It is about 5:30 now in the morning. We left at 4 o'clock in the dark because we have a long passage today to Morris Island, 60 miles. And then we don't know if you can even see me, but we wanted to show you the moon because it's so cool when you can get up and the moon is so big and full, it's almost like daylight. It makes getting underway really easy. So Eric's going to swing around and show you the moon.
Moon is just about ready to set. It's very orange. We'll zoom in on it a bit there. This is nighttime, early morning on Corroboree. There we are. It is early in the morning, about 5 o'clock, and Arliss is at the helm, and it just started raining really hard. She told me to stay down below and take a picture, take a video. What a mess.
Now, some days are just beautiful, with the sun overhead and the wind blowing from a favorable direction. You might be sailing between islands or in the middle of the ocean with nothing but blue as far as you can see. Our first item of business each morning was to do a walk around of the deck to inspect all the rigging and deck equipment for wear and tear. Then Eric would make coffee and read aloud to us while I tended the helm. We found entertaining books at the cruiser's bookshelves at marinas along our way.
Okay, here we are sailing in the Virgin Islands. We are on our way from St. Thomas, which is what you see here. That's where we came from. And we're sailing in between St. John and St. Thomas. St. John is coming up here just to the right of the mast. We're going up between the islands. The wind today is beautiful out of the east, about 10 to 15 miles an hour. I'm trying to shoot a video here to show what it's like sailing in the Virgin Islands. Okay, here we are on Corroboree. It is April 7th, 2018, a Saturday. We're at about 2 degrees south latitude, south of the Galapagos. This is what it's like sailing. We've got our unusual rig out. We're pulling out the jib as we're sailing almost nearly dead downwind. Beautiful day today. We left Cape Town last Wednesday amid some
contrary weather. We had wind on the nose. We also had some fog and even some rain, and then we also had some calms. It took us 3 days to make 120 miles, which is normally what we would do in one day. And we finally got out of the Cape Town weather, and we are in trade wind sailing. We're now about 500 miles from Cape Town, and we've got 1,200 miles or so to go to get to St. Helena Island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Arliss is going to pan around here and show you what it's like to be sailing out in the middle of nowhere. Arliss, take it away.
Okay, so I'm turning around to the port side of the boat. You can see it's a beautiful day. We have blue sky, blue sea. The waves are very gentle behind us. Coming around towards the bow. You can see how we have the sails set. We have the mainsail double reefed. We have that held out to starboard. We have the jib pulled out to port. So this is called going wing and wing for obvious reasons. With the wind behind us, this is known as fair winds and following seas. And I'm going to come back around on the starboard side, back to Eric.
Now that we've been out here on the ocean for about a week, we've really got our sea legs back, and the routine is quite comfortable. And we wake up in the morning, decide what we're going to do, and eventually it becomes coffee time. That's a highlight of the day. And sometimes we like to read out of a book. I read aloud to Arliss as she's at the helm. And the book we've chosen right now is Round Ireland with a Fridge by Tony Hawks. A delightful book that we're really enjoying.
Naturally, you keep an eye open for marine life. Flying fish often jump aboard, and it's always exciting when dolphins appear. They love to play hide and seek around your hull, so it's hard to capture them at the precise moment they leap free from the waves. We didn't see as much bird life at sea as we had hoped, but we did have some onboard visitors, especially booby birds. If they tried to land on the bimini, the canvas top over the cockpit, we had to chase them off so they didn't scratch our solar panels. Otherwise, we let them stay and rest their wings.
A little far below the surface. It's right there. Yes! Oh, look at that!
Well, here we are on Corroboree, heading north on Mother's Day, and we have a visitor that just landed on deck. This is a brown booby, and he's come in for a little bit of a rest. I don't think we want him to stay here too long because he might poop all over the life raft. But this is up close and personal from one of our feathered friends on the Australian coast. We're somewhere in the Timor Sea trying to approach Ashmore Reef, and we have a little visitor on the boat. It's a little swallow that has been flying in and out of the bimini right by our heads. I mean, with inches, I could feel it fly right by my head just a minute ago. He's taking a rest on the lifeline. We'll see if he comes anywhere nearer. Hey there, little guy. You gonna come this way?
Meanwhile, we monitored our GPS position on the charts on our iPad, along with our boat speed and the wind direction and speed. Keeping an eye out for ship traffic is another constant in the cockpit. The water can get very crowded near ports and through straits, and if necessary, you can communicate with other vessels by VHF radio to avoid collisions.
Good morning. It is the 9th of November 2022, my birthday, and we're in the Mozambique Channel heading south. We saw this ship approach on the AIS, and it looked like we were on a collision course. So we called them on the VHF radio and identified ourselves and said, is it possible that we can pass port to port? and they very obligingly said, yes, we will alter course to starboard to give you a little bit more room. So, courtesy of sailors at sea.
Beautiful days also come in handy for tackling maintenance issues that arise underway.
Hello, you can see the weather here is extremely calm. We got becalmed last night. We're on our way to this island up ahead, which is part of the Manua Islands near American Samoa. And we've been trying to get here for about 10 days, and as you can see, the conditions are so light, and we've got some damage to our mainsail, a split seam, that we're trying to repair it under these conditions. So we're motoring under autopilot while Arliss and I are up on deck repairing the sail.
Yes, this is normally a two-person job. It's always a two-person job. So normally Eric would be under the sail, pushing the needle up from one direction. I'm on the top, I pull it up, I push it back down to him. But since he's doing the video, he's obviously not on the other side. We're clipped on, as always, because the boat is rocking and rolling a little bit. We will have this finished in a jiffy, and we will be underway as soon as the wind permits.
We have found that our solar panels are not putting out as much power as they should, and it may be because some of the wires are a little bit corroded. Here's one of the wires from one of the solar panels. You can see it's got a bright end at one end, but it's badly tarnished and corroded at the other end. Those are the fittings that came off these things. They plug in, the male-female type plugs. And so we're replacing these wires, 4 wires from 2 solar panels, with a new wire with new end fittings here. So we hope to restore the current that comes out of the solar panels to keep our batteries charged.
Of course, the weather isn't always sunshine and balmy breezes, and sometimes it can change very quickly in the space of a few hours.
Hi everybody, this is Arliss and Eric. We are 215 miles southwest of the Galapagos Islands en route to the Marquesas. We should be in the trade winds now, experiencing steady 15-knot winds. And as you can see instead, we are perfectly becalmed, which is about how we have been more or less for the last 48 hours. However, we did pick up a guest last night. We have a red-footed booby hitching a ride on our spinnaker pole. This is a follow-up to our video this morning, which was taken about 8:30, 9 o'clock, when we had absolutely no wind. Now it is just 2 o'clock. At about 12 o'clock, the wind switched on from the south to the southeast. We have a lovely wind. We are rocking along, and we will see how long it lasts. This is our third video today, the follow-up from 2 o'clock. It's now 4 o'clock. The wind picked up so strong, we had to take down the jib and reef the main, because we were passing under, or rather passing over us, was this bank of clouds with some really strong winds. When you get a change in the wind speed or direction, you have to reset the sail. On Corroboree, this is challenging because she doesn't have built-in roller furling, and we had to reset the sails manually, with me at the helm and Eric on deck, often in pitching seas. On one such occasion, we had the garbage bin out in the cockpit, and you'll see the result.
Okay, here it is. This is the 17th of April. The wind has picked up and we're blowing probably 20 to 25 knots. We've had to take in another reef. In order to do that, Arliss stays at the helm and has to turn the engine on, and we point back up into those waves there with the engine on so the mainsail ups. When that happens, it gets pretty bouncy, and you can see what happened to our garbage during the reefing maneuver. But we got the reef in up over here. It's number 2 reef. We're still doing about 6.5, 7 knots.
Which makes this a good time to talk about garbage at sea. On long voyages, we dumped our organic garbage like banana peels and other food scraps overboard, but we compacted and stored every other bit of garbage until we got to a port where we could dispose of it responsibly. So it was distressing when we encountered garbage at sea and washed up on many shores. We cleaned up the beaches wherever we could.
Good morning. We're in the Sunda Strait, and we found this long string of garbage that's just strewn through the water here. It's awful. Plastic and trees and household goods. I mean, it's pretty dangerous kind of going through this stuff because it could get sucked up into your engine intake. But have a close look if you can. I mean, it just goes on for a long, long ways.
On calm days, cooking and eating at sea was easy, and I could make a fancy breakfast like pancakes. When the sea got bouncy, I made one-pot meals that we took turns eating in the cockpit. This was especially true when we got into the trade winds. Though the progress is great on a leg like this, the motion is constant. Here's just a taste of it. Now imagine a rocking hull underfoot all day and all night for several thousand miles. This is why sailors sway when they finally step ashore.
Okay, here we are. We are halfway along on our voyage to the Marquesas, a little over 2,000 miles on a 4,000 mile leg. We've just had lunch. I'm shooting a bit of video here to show what the motion of the boat is like as we cruise on down the waves. If we're lucky, we might even see a little bit of flying fish jumping out ahead of the boat or maybe along the side. Beautiful day for sailing. This is what it looks like when standing up at the mast looking aft. These are the conditions we've been in for the last couple of days. You can see our wind generator up there spinning around. It's been pretty blustery the last couple of days, so we're under only reef main. But it's a good day for sailing.
Eric got a kick out of recording the major milestones of our voyage, whether they happened at night or by day. We joked that there should be lines in the water to mark these special latitudes and longitudes as boats crossed over.
Good evening. We're here on Corroboree. It is just after midnight on August 25th, 2018. We're about 40 miles north of the Vava'u group of islands in the South Pacific. They belong to the Kingdom of Tonga. That's our next destination. And we're coming up here on 18 degrees south latitude. And the significance of that is that we've determined from our reckoning that when we cross 18 degrees south latitude, we will have traveled 10,000 miles on Corroboree since we left St. Augustine on the 4th of January 2017. So we're looking at the chart plotter now, and we're going to watch this number right up here, which is the latitude, and I'll try and expand that. There we are. We're going to watch this latitude as it climbs up to 18 degrees. That'll mean we'll have done 10,000 miles. It's a quiet night tonight with high overcast, very light winds, so we're motor sailing. And we do have a full moon, but it's hidden behind some of those clouds. And we're waiting now for crossing over 18 degrees south latitude. Here it comes. There we are. Corroboree has now traveled 10,000 miles on this voyage, and this is where we're going. I'll show you. This is the Vava'u group of islands. We hope to be there by midday tomorrow. Good morning. We're about a day's sail southeast of Fiji, and we're going to have another geography milestone here in a few minutes. We're going to be crossing from the Western Hemisphere into the Eastern Hemisphere by crossing the 180th meridian of planet Earth. Now, on the chart here, I'm showing Totoya Island, and I'm going to pan over here. That's Totoya Island over there. It is in the Western Hemisphere. On the other side of the chart is Matuka Island. That island is in the Eastern Hemisphere. So we're going to be watching this chart as our little icon here moves to the edge of the screen. And Once it goes to the edge of the screen, that hits 180th meridian. That's 180 degrees longitude, either east or west from the prime meridian in England. So here we go. It's coming up. There it is. Just switched over from west longitude to east longitude. We are now in the eastern hemisphere of the Earth.
Of course, along with good weather, we also encountered our share of rain and squalls. When they're short-lived, you'll get wet, but you can weather them okay.
Well, it's Friday, August 3rd, 2018. We're on our way to Samoa, and we're surrounded by squalls. You can see all of these clouds here, but off here in the distance where I opened the shot, it looks like a water spout. It looks like a little tornado just sucking water up out of the ocean. And there's more squalls back there. Good morning! It's Friday, August 3rd, and we're in the middle of squalls in the Pacific. This is what it looks like when the weather is bad. That's Arliss at the helm trying to steer through a squall, and this is what a squall looks like from inside the cockpit. It's nothing but gray and rain, and it's coming down in torrents, and we're soaking wet. I'm here in the cockpit, and everything is wet.
On those legs of a circumnavigation that are known for changeable or dangerous weather, you monitor the forecast to try to find a long enough weather window to get you through safely. That was the situation during what turned into our wet and blustery 1,000-mile passage from Fiji to New Zealand. During long spells of rough weather, Arliss sometimes got seasick and had to live on soda crackers until her stomach adjusted to the waves.
Hi everybody, this is Arliss and Eric. We have just left Fiji, as you can see in the background, for our sail to New Zealand. Now, it might look like we're out in kind of bad weather, but really, it's not as bad as it seems, because we've been watching the weather for, a good 10 days now, and the wind's coming out of a good direction. So we've got some swell, some ocean swell, because the last 2 days it's a really strong wind. Now it's not quite as strong, so we've got enough room to swell, but that should calm down within about the next 24 hours or so. What's really important is the wind is from a good direction for us, so we can make good speed. We get down to New Zealand. We're making between about 5.5 and 6 knots, and we've had only a few sprinkles, so not a lot of rain, so this is pretty good. Am I right, Eric? Yes?
Yeah, you get a lot of spray. I have a hard time looking out my glasses.
All right. We'll see you later. Bye. Hi, everybody. It's Thursday morning, 25th of October, about 7 o'clock in the morning. First thing I'm going to do is take down my scarf. We're going to do a quick video. I'm going to do a striptease, show you what the well-dressed sailor wears at sea when you're about 100 miles north of New Zealand. All right, for a start, on overnight watch, we have a flashlight with a whistle so we can see, so we can wake up the other person if we need them. We have our sailing gloves, nice leather gloves. Keep your fingers warm. If you need to grab a line, then you're protected from chafe and rope burn. Then we have first layer, of fall weather gear. Nice heavy jacket. We needed this a lot during the first 3 to 4 days because it was wet, windy, wild, water coming over the bow. We're still wearing it now as we've come farther south because a couple of days ago we exited the tropics and it's getting cool at night, so we need this for the warmth. Then we have a scarf. I just lost it. Where'd it go? Never mind. We had to put these on as we were sailing, especially the first few days, because we got so windburned. Our faces were getting all chapped and red from salt spray and wind. So a scarf. Then we have harness, safety harness. We wear these all the time when we're outside in the cockpit, especially if Eric has to go up on deck or I have to go up on deck. We are clipped to the boat at all times. There's the clip. We're always clipped on. Safety harness. Then we have, or at least I have, another jacket for extra warmth. And then finally, well, not quite finally, but we have our foul weather pants, which are great. They keep you warm all the way up to your chest, and we wear those. And the foul weather gear was bequeathed to us by our good friends Tina and Roger Van Gent, for which we say a hearty thank you. Then, to keep us warm, I at least have one jacket, one turtleneck, two turtlenecks, and sweatpants. And this is what the well-dressed sailor wears at sea, topped off by a watch cap. And we are going to make it to New Zealand. We should be there tomorrow morning. Yes! Weather aside, there are other not fun things that can happen when you're trying to sail around the world. One of our worst was when we hit a reef in the Great Barrier Reef off Australia. We damaged our rudder and were stranded at one of the islands for 2 weeks trying to get a tow back to the mainland for repairs. This episode was especially demoralizing because it was our own fault for trying to pick up a mooring too close to the reef on a gusty day. When something like this occurs, you can't waste your energy on recriminations. You get to work, and only when it's over do you get to let down your guard and allow the pent-up emotion to escape. With the help of many wonderful people in Cooktown, we spent 3 weeks repairing the rudder and went on to sail another day.
Good morning, everyone. It is the 16th of June, 2021. And after a couple of weeks being stranded at Lizard Island, we are finally under tow from a fishing boat going back to Cooktown. Off in the distance over there is Cape Flattery. We're heading south, and we have a damaged rudder. We're going into Cooktown for repairs, where we have to haul out and see what is wrong with the rudder and try and get it fixed. So far, so good. We're underway for the next phase.
Hi, I just want to say that this has been a truly awful experience. We fucked up totally, and we're paying the price, and it's been difficult arranging things and coming to grips with our stupidity. And all I can say is that I'm emotionally drained, and I am too stupid to ever have been allowed at sea.
Now you reach another milestone, and just so that you know you're not alone out there, you get a call from an Australian Border Force plane patrolling the coast.
Good morning. It is the 30th of July, 2021, and Corroboree is passing over the top of Cape York. This is the northernmost point of the Australian continent. We've been in Australia for about 2.5 years now, and this is a momentous day for us to pass from the Coral Sea around Cape York into the Arafura Sea. And Arliss is here to tell you more about it.
Hi, it's a beautiful morning here. We have about 15 knots of breeze. We're going along beautifully. We are very, very excited to be passing Cape York. We spent last night at the island behind us, Mount Adolphus. We've been underway 12 days from Cooktown. We're heading to Seisha, where we'll be for a couple of days just to rest and recuperate, and then we head across the Arafura Sea. And in honor of this occasion, we are wearing our very stylish hats.
Here comes the Border Force airplane again. We heard them on the radio checking in with other yachts, and now they've flown us overhead 3 times. They were real close the first time, not so close the second time, and they're coming by again. And we're expecting a phone call from them on the VHF radio. They're seeing us on AIS. They're also spying on us with cameras, I'm sure. And they're passing by, banking around again. I got a little bit of it, but Corroboree on channel 7 too.
Corroboree, good day. Thanks for getting back. Just some routine questions for you. Can I please have your last port of call, next port of call, and port of registry?
Last port of call was Darwin. Next port of call is Serangoon in Bali. And our home port is St. Augustine, Florida, USA.
Roger that. Darwin to Bali, registered in St. Augustine. And can I have the estimated day of arrival for Bali?
It's pretty slow going now. It's looking like about 10 days, so 26, 27, 28 along in there of month of May.
Yeah, roger that. Thanks for the info and just the nature of travel.
This is travel for pleasure, circumnavigation.
Yeah, roger that. Sounds like a fun trip. I've got nothing further for you. Enjoy your sail. And no doubt over the next few days you'll be contacted with the same questions, just checking up on you from Border Force aircraft for the next few days. And we've got nothing further. We'll see you next time. And we'll be standby 16. Border Force out.
Corroboree out. Thanks.
One of the biggest concerns on a circumnavigation is being injured at sea, and when you combine that with ferocious weather, it is scary indeed. That's what happened to us in the Java Sea. In the second part of this clip, you'll hear Eric say that I had a fall and bruised myself and was resting below. In fact, I was thrown across the cabin, smashed into the stove, broke a couple of ribs, and had to talk myself out of going into shock. Eric trussed me up in a body wrap from our medical kit so I could keep going. The storm continued into the next morning with lightning bolts all around. We didn't dare attempt to record any of that for fear of tempting fate.
Good morning. It is Saturday, the 16th of July, 2022, and we're in the Java Sea. We've been trying to head southwest. Right now we're headed south. Everything was fine all last night. Clear skies, bright moon, steady wind, no waves. And this morning we are faced with what you see in front of us, a line squall that goes from one end of the horizon all the way along over to the other end, blocking our way, seemingly stationary right here, and we can't really get by it. So we're heading south instead of southwest. I'm going to try and get around this end of it, maybe break through at the southern end and see if we can get clear weather on the other side. But our regular progress now is impeded by the seemingly stationary line squall. Well, good afternoon, everyone. When we were on our way across the Java Sea, when this morning we faced a huge squall line across our path. We tried to go south around the end of the squall line, and we did not luck out. We are in the middle of a pretty severe storm here right now, and we are tied down. The wheel is tied down here, so the boat is basically sailing by itself, going about 150 degrees. That's to the southeast. We actually want to be going over to the southwest, but that's where the wind is coming from. We're making about 2.5 knots, 2 knots or so, and we don't know when this storm is going to let up. So we're just going to ride it out like this. The boat is kind of sailing all by itself. The way it's tied here like this. Arliss had a fall. She bruised herself up a bit, so she's resting down below. I'm just keeping an eye on things here. Hopefully this will let up soon, but I have a feeling it won't be before tonight. It's really a mess.
We had one last near disaster toward the end of the voyage when, in the middle of the South Atlantic Ocean, with Eric at the helm and me sleeping below, a loud bang shook the boat in the black of night. One of our steering cables had snapped. For the few minutes it took us to realize what had happened and grab and insert our emergency tiller, it was terrifying.
Hello, it's Saturday the 8th of April, and looks like the cockpit is a mess, and there's a very good reason for that. Last night, 7th of April, at 10:30 in the evening, the port side steering cable broke. We all of a sudden had no steering. So we quickly got out the emergency tiller. Arliss is holding onto it right there. We put that in place so that we could steer, and then we spent the whole night just figuring out what we're going to do and wait for daylight so that we can start effecting repairs. So to get to the steering cable, we had to remove this tank, the starboard tank, and of course it was 3/4 full, so we had to dump all the water overboard, draining it into a bucket at a time, 17 buckets worth of water overboard to get that tank out so that we could get access to the steering cables. Now we had a spare steering cable, and so we're trying to rig that up. We've got a little more than enough to get it back in, but we don't have all the right clamps that we need, wire clamps, and we're trying to spread those thin, have one at each end instead of two at each end. So we're in the middle of the morning of repair day, and we're trying to get our steering back together again. Hi there, it is noon, just after noon on the 8th of April 2023, and this is the aftermath of our steering problem. As you can see, Arliss is steering with the steering wheel. It is reconnected to the rudder. We had a spare wire. We fashioned up some clamps, and we got it all disconnected and reconnected. You can see we've got the water tank out and the ditch bag out, and a real mess here in the cockpit. And it's taken us since about 7:30 this morning to get this, 6:30 this morning to get this all taken care of. Arliss is holding the emergency tiller. We had this fabricated for us in Antigua on our way down to the Caribbean, and it has come in as a lifesaver. But we were steering with that from 10:30 last night until 12 o'clock today. So 13 and a half hours, something like that. Anyway, Arliss will tell you what her experience has been.
I'm exhausted. I'm stunned that this happened. How could we possibly be on our second to last leg in one of the most calm and serene ocean parts of the world, and we have this total failure, totally unexpected, totally random, and I think I'm finally starting to come to grips with the fact that we've survived yet another disaster.
Yes, and we're on a yacht. Yet another catastrophe handled today.
Now we're passing the final milestones, the Tropic of Capricorn, the Prime Meridian, and the Equator. Our days in the cockpit drawing to a close.
So last night at about 3 o'clock in the morning, we crossed the Tropic of Capricorn into the tropics. And the last couple of days, actually, the wind has been very light. And right now we've got wind of about 5 knots and a boat speed of about 1 knot. We like boat speeds of about 4 knots. So we're in the tropics now, and we'll be here until the end of our circumnavigation. Good afternoon. It is about 2:45 in the afternoon on Tuesday, the 21st of March 2023. We here on Corroboree are on our way from Cape Town, South Africa to St. Helena Island, still a couple of days away. But on this trip, we are going to be crossing the Prime Meridian, 0 degrees Greenwich. As shown on the screen here, that's this vertical line right there. That's the Prime Meridian. This is our little boat icon up there. And then this is our intended course down there. And to the right of this line is east longitude, to the left of the line is west longitude, so we're going to be crossing from the eastern hemisphere into the western hemisphere. And we're watching this little number right here as it counts down to 0 degrees, 0 minutes east longitude. And we're almost there. And as we do, we'll be crossing from the eastern hemisphere to the western hemisphere. Here it is, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bingo! We are on the prime meridian. We are crossing over to the western hemisphere. Good morning. It is Tuesday, the 25th of April at about 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:15 in the morning. And we are about to cross the equator. The last time we had crossed the equator was when we went from the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere on the 18th of April, 2018. It was 5 years, 0 months, and 1 week ago exactly. This is the chart, our moving chart. We're watching our little boat icon right here across the equator. We're watching this number count down. It is 2019, 18, 17. This is the equivalent of watching your car's odometer flip over all the digits to the next 100,000 miles. Okay, here we go. This is 3, 2, 1, 0. We are on the equator. Now we are in the northern hemisphere. Just to give you an idea of where we are, I'm going to zoom out here on the chart, and you can see where we are along the north coast of Brazil, right there. And if we look out and around, this is what it looks like all around me here. That's what the equator looks like from here in the cockpit, absolutely pitch dark.
Looking back on our voyage, it was always a moment of joy when the sun rose over the horizon with the promise of a brilliant day. Here's one last perfect day at sea, made all the more so because this 1,000-mile leg off the east coast of Africa normally throws up some very tricky weather. Instead, we had 4 days of bliss.
Good morning. It's Eric and Arliss on Corroboree. We're in the middle of the Mozambique Channel having a beautiful day sailing, a rare occurrence. This is what it looks like at the helm. Our wheel is being driven by the autopilot, and the chart here shows us where we are. That little blue triangle is where we are between Madagascar and South Africa, Mozambique, and the speed is 4.5 knots. Under a wind of about 10 to 11 knots coming off the starboard bow. We're under double reef main and jib. And Arliss is going to tell you about what it's like out here.
Basically, this is unbelievably good weather. We started out from Mayotte on the 31st of October. It's been a little bit slow, and for part of the voyage we got caught in an evil southeast current, which was bearing us over towards Madagascar, where we don't want to go. And then last night at about 5 o'clock, there was a wind switch. This wind isn't even supposed to be here according to the weather models, but it is. The evil current is all gone. We are just skipping along, and most of all, it's dry. The sea is fairly calm. There's no water coming aboard, no spray, the clothes aren't wet. So we haven't had sailing like this in a long time, and we are just so thankful. This is what a sailor's dreams are made of.
Finally, we had some incredible sunsets and some nights at sea that were so beautiful, so peaceful, that being on watch in the cockpit makes you feel like the entire world belongs to you alone.
It's such a pretty night out here tonight. I thought I'd see if I could get a picture of what the view is of the moonlight. There's the moon way up there, shining down on the ocean. And then this is the view of the helm. This is what we see at night. So we're doing about 4.25 knots. Wind speed's very light.
6.2 knots, almost dead astern. And we're heading about 300 degrees magnetic, which is actually about 280 degrees true. Very pretty still night tonight.
Hi, this is Arliss. I'm speaking very quietly because Eric's asleep down below and I don't want to wake him. This is the night of Monday, the 7th of November in the Mozambique Channel. It's about 8 o'clock at night. That's the full moon that has risen over the water, and it is just beautiful. I'm sitting in the corner of the cockpit, propped up against the cushions. Self-steering gear, the autopilot is doing all the work, and there's not another vessel anywhere around. There are no birds. There are no marine animals. It's just me and a little bit of clouds and that gorgeous moon. It will stay there all night long. I can't believe how beautiful it is. It's mystical.
Overall, our voyage in Corroboree covered 32,000 miles at sea.
We tied the knot on our circumnavigation in Grenada on the 5th of May, 2023.
Thank you for sailing with us.